What is up, everyone? I wanted to take a preliminary look at this week's UFC card from a DFS standpoint. I like to do these on Mondays, just get them as soon as BetOnline releases their props, and just take a look. And obviously, a ton can change from now until the end of the week. You can have line movement, fights cancel, all this type of stuff. But I always like to just take a look at right when the lines drop so I know where everything stands right now, and I can kind of factor in, where the lines are moving, what the public is thinking, all that good stuff. So, yeah, let's just take a very early look. None of this is final. It's just a blueprint to go off of later in the week. So, I start from the top. We got Shavkat. And before the week even starts, before I even look at the betting lines at all, I usually pick out 1 to 2 fighters that I think are just automatically gonna be in my pool before I know anything. And for this week, it was, Shavkat and Colby. But then when I saw Shavkat get priced on Draftkings, he's at 9.7K, and, you know, you gotta get a lot from a 9.7K fighter to make that worth it. And I get that Shavkat has the 100% finish rate. Um, he scores well in all of his fights, and that's why I was almost certain he was going to be in my pool. But we got to take a look at the metrics. We can't get too biased into the name. And if this was just fighter A versus fighter B, and fighter B is 9.7K, I want to ask for an ITD line of at least minus 250. I want a round one line of around minus 110. Um, and I preferably want, on top of all that, some grappling upside. He has some grappling upside. I would imagine he does in this matchup too, but it's not one of those things that's guaranteed. And you can see the fight's heavily juiced to go over 1.5 rounds. So we're looking at like a 10-minute median fight time. So right off the bat, right there, that's not amazing. And then you look at the round one, his finish, you know, his finishing ability is pretty evenly spread out between each round. Round one plus 300. That's really not that good. That means he's going to win the fight in round one roughly 25% of the time. You kind of want a bit more than that at this price. And then you look at his ITD line itself, uh, minus 150 or so without Vig. And, even that's pretty weak for this price. So, long story short, is, as of right now, I'm saying that Shavkat he's not a lock or anything that I would force in. Now we have to look at the rest of the slate and the context of the slate and all that. But on a 14 fight card, just looking at the metrics right off the bat, I'm not gonna say he's a good play. And then Stephen Thompson, just not gonna play him. Just not winning often enough. And yeah, +9. Yeah, I'm just not gonna do that. But yeah, first fight, Shavkat. I thought I was gonna have to play him, but now I'm really thinking that I can get away with fading him. But we'll see. It's still Monday. So then we go on to Ian Gary, 9.5K. I'm gonna want to see like at least minus 150 ITD, maybe some round one upside. He doesn't really have grappling upside, so that's already a negative. So a lot of his ceiling is based on him getting an early finish, and the fight once again super heavily juiced to go over 1.5 rounds. So we're looking at like an 11-minute median projection. Not amazing, especially because Ian Gary is pretty much a pure striker. Round one plus 400 or so, not good. ITD plus 115 or so, not good. So right off the bat, we have two highly priced 9K guys that just don't rate to be good plays. But then for this, I will take a look at Luque because although he's not winning that often. His ITD line is really fair for the price. What is when I'm looking in this punt range, the 6K range, I like to call the punt range. I'm looking at like plus 450 ITD. I mean, you really don't need much from these guys. Uh, and he has grappling upside. So I think out of Thompson, Ferguson, and Luque, I mean, Luque is by far the best punt on the slate. Now, do I think he'll probably be the most popular punt? He could be. He could be. Um, but actually, I'm gonna include him possibly. Um, and usually I just throw all these guys out right away. But Luque, plus 450. That's right around where you need for that price. So Gary, not a good play. Luque, I'm definitely considering, but not sold on it yet. Then we got Patty Pimblett, 9.4K. So we're gonna need minus 130 ITD. He has a little bit of takedown upside. But let's take a look. First of all, he's not getting nearly as much win equity as Gary and Shavkat, so that's one thing to note. But we're analyzing this from a GPP perspective, so that doesn't really matter. And then ITD, it's like plus 110, which is really not strong for this price. So far, what we're seeing is all of these 9K guys are, quote unquote, bad plays in a nutshell. And so what that can mean is let's say all these guys end up being bad plays, then I'm going to need to look at it again and see in the context of the slate who's the best play. But for right now, Patty Pimblett not a good play either. Ferguson just plus 600, and I mean, I just don't think I'm gonna do it. Uh, I mean, yeah, he's plus 226. I'm not convinced that he scores extremely well if he does win. Like, I mean, 67 in a 3 round, or I mean, yeah, probably not gonna get to Ferguson, but I'll be rooting for him nonetheless. But yeah, in DFS, can't really get behind Ferguson. So that fight's not looking good. Then we got Randy Brown versus Salikov, and so Randy Brown, what is he, 9.2? Okay, maybe minus 110 I can get behind, maybe. He's plus 200 with no takedown upside. So another bad play on the 9K range. Salikov, like around, plus 340 ish. And he is going to be 7K. Okay. Okay. Salikov's not a bad punt either. A little bit better than Luque, but a little bit more expensive as well. So, yeah, Salikov, not bad. Um, and then we got Jacoby versus Menfield, and what is he, 9.1. So again, like around minus 110. He has no takedown upside either. Man, this slate. I think that my hot take for this slate is it's going to be somewhat low scoring, even though there's 14 fights. I mean, could be a lot of chaos. I mean, that's probably a bad take, but it's just not rating well. I haven't seen a 9K range this week in a long time. Usually, you get multiple fighters with really strong ITD lines, takedown upside, all the things. But with this, I'm not seeing it so far. Um, and obviously, you could get like the 150s out of Pantoja and Colby, and then it could be high scoring. But I'm just saying, in a nutshell, I think this slate is looking like it might be low scoring compared to what people expect. But 14 fights, things can happen, whatever. But yeah, Jacoby. Let's see, around minus 110 would be good. Plus 160, it's not good. Uh, Manfield 7.1K, like around plus 350. Okay, okay. Manfield, I think is another good underdog. So I mean, I'm finding a lot of good underdogs so far, but just no one that's a good favorite, which is interesting because usually it's a lot harder to find good underdogs. Then we go down to the 8K range. Bryce Mitchell. I'm assuming he's gonna have bad metrics, but we all know him. He gets a bunch of takedowns. Usually, he has 130 point upside. So despite his bad ITD line, yeah, I mean plus three, yeah, it's not great at all. I think that he's gonna be a good play, just because he does have that like 110 point upside in his decision wins. So um, I mean, you could argue that Emmett has good takedown defense, but I don't want to get into all that. I think just in a nutshell, Bryce Mitchell is a good play. Um, Not amazing, but I just think he's a good play. And then Josh Emmett is like plus 340. I mean, 7.3. I would say in the context of the slate, that's not amazing because we've already found three other guys that have better than that for a lower price. But in a nutshell, that's okay. It's okay. So as of right now, I think Emmett is like kind of fringy, maybe. And then oh yeah, I skipped the Cody Garbrandt fight. So Cody Garbrandt fight, once again, like, you know, hopefully around minus 110. Can we get a 9K fighter that's minus 110 ITD besides Shavkat, who's the most expensive fighter? No, we can't. So plus 140. He has maybe a bit of takedown upside. I mean, he scored 56 even with a couple of takedowns in his last fight. He's low volume nowadays. He doesn't really want to engage. Yeah, nothing sticking out there. And then Kelleher, again, like around plus 350. He's like plus 450. Oh, okay. We just got some action. So Kelleher moved down. Yeah, I was gonna say like Garbrandt with his questionable chin plus 400 seemed kind of crazy. So I mean, yeah, these lines are gonna move a ton throughout the week, like I said. But as of right now, Kelleher not a good play. Neither is Garbrandt. Um, then we got Aldana versus um, Rosa. I can tell you this fight's probably a fade for me. Um, I mean, plus four. Yeah, this fight's not gonna. I'm not gonna. Just, it's not gonna do that fight. Um, then we got Casey O'Neill versus Lipsky. Now, let's just look at the metrics first, right? And you can see Casey O'Neill, plus 300, not good. Lipsky plus 600, not good. But what I will say, and something I was looking into the stats, is that Casey O'Neill has some significant volume upside. Uh, I mean, she can. I mean, obviously this is an outlier, but it's hard to ignore that that is a part of her range of outcomes. Um, I mean, yeah, she has put up some insane scores. Now that I'm looking at the entire game log, just with these her strike upside, it looks like. So I think Casey O'Neill. I don't think I would normally say okay fade, just looking at the metrics, but I mean this total strike upside is. I don't think you can completely ignore that. So don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that, but it's interesting right now. And then Lipsky. Um, kind of the same thing. Like if she has 100 strikes and wins a decision, she'll put up 70 points. What if it's 120? Like maybe a couple takes. Like it's hard to tell. I don't think you can just put her in right away. I think this fight will be extremely close, but this is for DFS. I'm not giving my opinion on the fight. If Lipsky wins, is it guaranteed that she's going to score well? Not necessarily. So I think I have a lot of interest in the Casey O'Neill side right now, but I'm not sold on either part of this fight. But I'm going to look into it more as the week goes on because, like I said, that Casey O'Neill's volume upside is insane. Um. Okay, so this is the fight: Pantoja versus Royval. If I'm going to give one piece of advice on Monday before we know a whole lot about the slate, it's that I just don't see how this fight doesn't deliver. I mean, really, if Pantoja, 143. If this goes 5 rounds, if this somehow gets, I don't think it will, but if it does, whoever wins is going to score extremely well. Whenever you have flyweights, there's just fantasy points to be had. There's reversals, total strikes, takedown. There's just all of this stuff that goes on. They're really active. They pump out a lot of volume. And yeah, Royval always going for the finish. Pantoja marches forward like a juggernaut and goes for takedown, like all the stuff. I just think this is a fantasy point monster of a fight, and I'm going to be on both sides. But let's look at the metrics anyway, uh, just to be sure. But this fight is pretty much impossible for me to ignore. We got Pantoja minus 120, really strong for the 8.6K price. Look at that. He's already stronger than every 9K fighter we looked at. Now, granted, he has 5 rounds to work with, but that doesn't hurt him because, even if it goes 5 rounds, he's going to score even better probably than he would with an early finish. And then we got Royval plus 200, really strong stuff at 7.6K. And yeah, like I said, if this somehow goes the distance, then the winner is going to score extremely well. So give me both sides of this fight. And I think this is a really strong fight to target. I really would be surprised if it doesn't deliver DFS wise. And it'll be a really fun fight to watch. Okay. Andre Fili versus Almeida. So Fili at 8.5K. Minus 170. Okay. Yeah, so the line is pretty fine. Looks good. And we got an under 2.5 favored, which that's pretty good. If you haven't noticed, a lot of these fights are pretty juiced to go the distance on this card, which is why I said that I think it might be a bit lower scoring than people think. But yeah, Andre Fili, maybe plus 200, which okay. He's kind of on the fringe. He has a little bit of takedown upside. But what I will say is I think his fights are relatively active. Yeah, he scored, what was it, 47 in a loss over 3 rounds to Nathaniel Wood. So I think there's going to be a lot of activity on this fight, similar to the flyweight fight I just talked about, but not to that extreme. But I think there's a lot of fantasy points to be had in this fight, just in general. And he has maybe a tiny bit of takedown upside. You don't really know for sure. So yeah, I think Fili's fringy as of right now, but uh, Almeida 7.7K, even better idea. So Almeida DFS wise is the stronger play, but Fili is also Yeah, like I said, I think he's live, but he's more fringy looking at it right now. And Almeida is definitely a good play. Um, Martin Boudet versus Shamil Gaziev. So I will say Gaziev is getting a ton of steam in the betting world and the YouTube content world. A lot of people love him as an underdog this week, so that's one thing to just keep in mind going into this fight. Uh, Fight is favored to finish, so that's pretty good. And for Martin Budai, 8.4K, probably like around like plus 200 ish, plus 220 maybe. It's pretty strong. So right off the bat, I do like the Boudet side because his opponent I think will be very popular, and his ITD line is good by itself. And then Shamil plus like 210 at 7.8K. Yeah, I mean that's good. So yeah, I think both sides of this fight are viable, but I think Boudet will be a pretty good leverage spot if Shamil is as popular as I think he's going to be based on the talk I've been hearing so far this week. So yeah, I think both sides of this fight are okay. I mean, good. I don't know yet. I think both sides of this fight are reasonable. That's my early analysis. And then Ulanbekov versus Durden. You're gonna have to pay me to not play Durden. Like this is everything you want out of a fantasy fighter and just a fighter in general. Someone who's gonna push the pace, be gritty, shoot relentless takedowns. This guy's just a workhorse in the octagon. And I do love that style. And we got one other fighter that's like that we'll talk about in the main event. But yeah, plus 160 money line and plus 600 ITD. Wow. So that's no good, but this guy, you'll see. He has all the pace and this guy produces fantasy points like no one else. So if he wins, he's going to score well, I believe. You know, takedown upside, control. He's active. And yeah, I think he's a good play. And then Ulanbekov, if I can get away with that, I don't want to play this guy. Plus 270. I mean, to be honest, that's pretty fringy as far as an ITD line goes for this price. But does he have takedown? I mean, I may have to do it. I may have to play both sides of this fight, even though I really want Durden to win. And I really only wanted to play Durden. But yeah, I mean, I just can't argue with this. I mean, 59. Oh, he lost. I was gonna say, why did he only score 59? So yeah, I mean, this guy in his wins is looking at 85, 90 points. So I think he's good too, and I'm gonna have to play him. Then we got the main event. You're gonna have to get a lot to convince me to play Leon just right off the bat. And the fight's minus 190 to go all five. Leon doesn't score well in decisions. He's low volume. He's just a low volume striker with hardly any finish upside in most of his matchups. This is just DFS speaking. I understand he's a very good fighter, but DFS wise, I don't think I can get behind him. I mean, what plus 280, and that's 5 rounds accounting for. Yeah, no thanks. And Colby plus 500. I think that's kind of ridiculous to be honest, but doesn't matter. Uh, this guy, if he wins, is going to put up at least. I mean, yeah, look at this. 107. I mean, he has crazy upside. He's gonna be popular. He's gonna be popular, but you just can't ignore 170-point upside and 100-point floor in his wins. So okay, now let's try to give a preliminary player pool. Once again, do not trust this. This is a very early look. So many things can change, but just off an early look, I'm going to try to give my best player pool. So Shavkat, pass. Gary, pass. Pimblett, pass. Brown, pass. Jacoby, pass. Uh, Garbrandt, pass. Mitchell, sure. Aldana, pass. Casey O'Neill, undecided, but the upside is there. Pantoja, absolutely. Good play. Feely, fringy slash undecided. Boudet, good play. Ulan Bekov, good play. Leon, pass. Colby, very good play. Durden, good play. Gaziev, good play. Almeida, good play. Rival, good play. Lipsky, undecided, but probably a pass in DFS. Rosa, pass. Emmett, fringe. Kelleher, uh, as of now, pass. Manfield, good play. Salikov, good play. Ferguson, pass. Luque, fine. Fine play. And Thompson, pass. So, yeah, that's an extremely early look. I hope that gives you, something to go off of. Obviously, I'm going to make another video either this Thursday or Friday, probably Friday, when, we know if there's any weight misses. We know what the lines, I mean, these lines are going to move a ton from now until Friday. But as of right now, that's how the slate looks. And you got a lot of fights that are favored to go all 3 rounds or just to a decision in general. A lot of weak 9K guys, a lot of strong underdogs. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. This is one of the weirder slates that I have dealt with since I've been playing MMA DFS, but I'm excited for it. Um, yeah, I'll see you guys later in the week to go over everything again. Thanks for watching.